last Friday, we have these Friday Spiritual Insights program that we do for free every evening on Friday, 5:30. And one thing that somebody had asked me to talk about at that time was basically like, what is the ego? So I'm not going to repeat that per se, but I'm just making clear this one thing. The ego, some people try to befriend it as though it's a thing. The ego is simply our fear-based decision to forget our divinity. Now, I don't know why you'd want to befriend that, but even if you could, it's not something that exists for you to pet or to befriend. It's our fear-based choice to think we're separate from God or that we're not divine beings. So really, the only thing you'd want to do with your ego is say no. I'm not interested in forgetting my divinity anymore. So I talked a little bit about that on Friday. Today, I just want to address a little bit of the opposite, in the sense that there's the ego I am not, but there's also the opposite, which is God I am. So let's talk about that a little bit. True consciousness, and I've done a full talk on God I am versus ego I am not. So you can go and watch that more fully, if it's something of interest to you. But this thing we really are, we'll call it consciousness. A Course in Miracles, he tries to switch the word over to awareness, and there's a reason he does that, but it's also fine to use consciousness. We have a divine consciousness. We're made in the image of God. We are one with the consciousness of God. That's perfect and whole and eternal. So God is this divine consciousness. It's not a thing or even a person, a divine bliss consciousness. And then you can relax in that. So this divine bliss-based consciousness. And then we're part of that. So every time we're not feeling bliss, peace, joy, happiness, abundance, then we're simply forgetting who we are. Now you can say, okay, well then how do you fix that? Well, believe it or not, it's simple. It's called forgiveness. Forgive anybody who's distracting you. Forgive yourself for thinking outside the God, consciousness. Just forgiveness is what it is. Forgive yourself for forgetting who you are. It's that simple. But it can take many forms. My forgiving restores my mind to divine consciousness. It does. That's the only thing that does it. You can stand on one foot, you can do pranayama breathing, you can eat organically. It doesn't mean you're going to restore consciousness to divine. Only forgiveness restores. But a lot of people, no, I want forgiveness plus something else to do. Fine. Then forgive and eat organically. Forgive and stand on one foot. Forgive and whatever else you like to do. Go search for your soulmate. Do whatever. Sit on the red rocks. As long as forgiveness is still part of your programs, then you're still getting home. But don't do the other things and leave out forgiveness. Give to God what's God's, which is your soul. Here I am through forgiveness, and I'm home. And give to Caesar what's Caesar. So play all the other games. It doesn't matter. You can make Twister into part of your rituals if you want. Right hand on red, left foot on blue. If that's what flips your switch, it's fine. But don't leave out the one piece that's essential, where you're giving back to God what's God's, which is you. And the only way you can give yourself back isn't by exercising enough. God's not saying, well, okay, you're looking much better, I guess, entrez-vous. We're already part of God. It's our consciousness that shift out of God consciousness. So in other words, we lost awareness. That's why meditation is sort of a way to feel that presence again. But if you meditate without a forgiving heart and soul, you're only going to have relaxation exercises. Meditation, by definition, has to include God. If you don't bring God into a meditation, it's not meditation. It's called visualization, which is nice. Relax, breathe. If you get something from that, great. But the ultimate idea is that meditation has to include God. Where do you bring God into the picture? So forgiveness, again, restores us. Now, consciousness. Just picture this idea of consciousness. Consciousness is a higher frequency than thinking, because some people think it's all about thought, mind, thinking. It isn't. Before you thought, I think, therefore I am, that concept, before you're thinking, you're being. So consciousness is the highest piece to it all. And consciousness, meaning our divine I am, is metaphorically found in our upper three chakras. I love making things applicable like this. So God that I am is still here. And then at some point, I can do this. Even if I'm going to come into the universe, the God I am can breathe life forward into a universe and create a holy place for us to go and journey and live and experience beautiful things. The problem is, I can do this with consciousness, or I can do it unconsciously. And this is how it's done. If God is, and I say, I am. God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Then the world I'm going to see down here, using the body as a metaphor of creating a universe, from divine down into the world, what I'm going to see is going to be congruent with I am, as God created me. And so it is. And now when I come into the world, I see beauty. I see love, even when there's war. I have a different way of seeing it. It's not you're in denial, but you just see there's still just beings of light. And all I see is love or a cry for love. And the cry of love is only a temporary thing, so that's not going to really get all my attention. All that matters to me is the love that I see. And if somebody's crying for love, I'm going to answer that with love, because that's what they're crying for. You know what you need is revenge. It doesn't make any sense. I need love. No, what you actually need is revenge. What you actually need is my opinions of you, my judgments of you. No. They're crying for love, so give them love. You know, in my life, I've shared this pretty openly, but in my life, even when somebody's been the most horrendous selfish behaviors, I don't know of anybody that ever still reached out and I said no, meaning like shut them off. If somebody comes to you, Jesus said, and they're truly repentant, then forgive them and give them another shot. I'm not talking about, I said, if they're truly repentant. If someone is coming to you and they're doing harm to you or others over and over and over and over and over, that doesn't mean they're truly repentant, because repent means to not only apologize, but make amends. Make amends means I'm changing the behavior. So he didn't put you in harm's way when he said, go ahead and just naively forgive everybody and let them have another shot. It's not what he was saying. He would not put you in harm's way. He said if they're sincere, all you need to do is learn to discern how sincere it is. And you're permitted to figure that out. You're permitted to say, okay, for me to know that they're sincere, I'm going to give a 1-year test period of them being in a program to demonstrate that they're sincere about stopping a certain addiction, let's pretend, or whatever the topic is. I'm going to give a certain amount of test period where they're not going to speak to me the way they spoke or hurt me the way they hurt me or whatever it happens to be. You're allowed to do that. So this divine presence can flow, technically effortlessly, but it doesn't seem that way, down into my life and become mirrored. I can do that with consciousness or unconsciousness. Now, I'm never going to take God into the world with unconsciousness, right? As soon as I decide I'm one with God, then so it is, and now I'm conscious. However, as soon as I say I'm one with God and then I say, well, maybe I'm not, you're now going unconscious. As soon as you doubt your divinity, you're unconscious, which is a funny way to look at it. Forgive them, they know not what they do. Jesus was saying, forgive them. They're unconscious. They're still walking around. They go to jobs and they parent and they do this and they do that and they, Social Security checks and they go through life and do their things. But you're unconscious. That's why I call it endearingly the living dead. Okay? People are walking around this world as though they're alive and they're not alive at all. I mean, all great mystics and masters have said the same thing in their own way. Listen to their wording. They're saying they're asleep. Or forgive them, they know not what they do. Those kinds of ideas. So this isn't an either or. You're not like coming in permanently awake or permanently asleep. Every day you can wake up choosing to reconnect. Now you're getting the volume kind of turned up. You're getting the channels open so you can experience, I'm going to start today consciously, which I tell people all the time. It's a free download on my website. Communion with God, starting the day with God, daily communion. So in your own way, start the day saying, here I am. I want to plug in. All right, I'm plugging in. Here we go. And be with me because I'm going in. So be with me. And so I'm going to go into my day. And some of us can't make it 3 seconds and we go unconscious. It's true. I mean, anything can make it happen. It could be a call that comes. It could be a call that didn't come. It could be the person next to you. You woke up next to you. You still here? Oh, and you just went unconscious. I had this blissful meditation, and I was assuming it would translate as you being gone. Yes. Happy Mother's Day next week. No. Speaking of wonderful concepts, so that's going to mean you've gone unconscious. Going to work, the things that happen there, you go unconscious. And it's not just in the morning. As soon as you go off, unconscious, your job is to find out how to get back to waking up. That's why Buddha used the word. Are you God? Are you? They ask him. He says, no, I'm just awake. And it just means I'm plugging in. And I'm just doing my part to just stay in this zone. That's it. Just doing your best to stay in the zone. You can only do so much, guys. We can only do so much. Just do your best to stay in the zone. Where you slip, call it oops and bounce back. Right? I've said that's one of the most underestimated chants in history. Oops. Oops. That's all you have to do to kind of, it's not like, oh, I messed up. Money body me boom shakalaka boom. You repeat to become holy. Just oops. And let that frequency go. That's all it takes. When somebody wrongs you, forgive them by saying oops. Because they know not what they do. And they don't. If you're unconscious, how could you know what you're doing? Anyway, I had a funny memory, but no. So when we're coming into this universe, we go unconscious or conscious, whichever, but here's the really tricky, weird, trippy part. Both of them create a world. So it's hard to tell sometimes what happened. Because you still wake up and the day's still there. I mean, you still might have breakfast and you woke up and you're conscious, you woke up and you're unconscious, breakfast is still there. Because the human ego tries to replicate everything, not create. It tries to replicate creation so that you don't become suspicious that you're unconscious. That's trippy, isn't it? Like, wow. So the ego sits there and dials up all this stuff and manufactures a world so that we think we're still alive, awake. But it's not so. That's why even Buddha in his awakening goes, what's going on? What is that? It's death. What's that? Sickness. I thought, I was told there was no death or sickness. And Buddha's life is a great metaphor because here his father created a world where he could fabricate everything is fine, son. It's made up. Just like in our fantasies. Once I get married, once I find my one and only for the 5th time, you get that, right? One and only for the 5th time. As soon as I have children, oh, now everything's fine until they can speak. It's everything in this world is temporary. It's a lie. And it's because the ego cannot create anything eternally. All it can do is fabricate. So even though sometimes I might sound irreverent, all right, so I am irreverent, but even though I sound irreverent at times, why? Because it's my way of laughing at how much we try to make a world out of a world that isn't there. And that's why we have to sleep at night, because we're exhausted from trying to make something out of nothing. If only, okay. So there you are. Whew. Okay, partner. Wow. Okay, how do I get that person in my life? Because they'll synthetically make me feel some sort of false sense of wholeness. You look good. Come here a second. Hey, my guides are telling me that you and I should get together, or whatever, hit on them lines you use. Hey, we should get together. My guides are telling in Sedona, you'd use that. But so you find some way to get them feeling like maybe there's hope, and then they better continue to look like that. Listen, I just want to say from my God self. I've noticed you put on a few pounds, and I... Wait, why are you reacting? You're in your ego right now. I'm just coming from a very unconditional place. What do you mean, how do I know I'm being unconditional? Because I'm not yelling. But you are, so you're clearly out of your center. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to give you your space right now because, see, your weight, your behavior, it's not fitting the box I put you in. I hired you to fit into a box synthetically to make me feel something, and I can't, and you can't. The ultimate marriage ceremony is when you say to the person, I want a divorce. See, those things just come to me and I say them, and sometimes I think, how do I fix that one? But the ultimate marriage ceremony is when you say, I want a divorce. And that's when you say, all that I wanted you to be, I'm going to retire that, and I would like to get to know who you are. And I don't even know what that is yet. But for some reason, I'm still interested in getting to know that. And I would like to know if you're interested in getting to know me, which, by the way, I don't know who that is. So I would like to know if you're interested in meeting me, getting to know your process of awakening. You maybe are interested in getting to know my process of awakening. Let's decide that. That is real. It's unconditional. And it doesn't sound unconditional because you might still say no, but that's not the point. There's no no to you based on what I wanted you to be. We may not connect and stay together, and that's fine. Because all I'm saying is, here, look, man, I'm on a search. Would you like to walk with me on my search? And I can let you know if I want to walk with you on yours. So mature. But humans don't tend to go that route. And so there's this conscious or unconscious. This is going to flow down from the heavens here in my being. It's going to flow down, and I either go one road or another, conscious or unconscious. And that switches all the time through every day. It's not one time or at the start of any day. But it's a wise thing to start every day conscious. Because what will happen is if you start every day saying, my intention is to remember. My intention is to know the presence of God. Or whatever wording you use, something along those lines. Here I am. You plugged in. And if you do that at the start of every day, you've actually made your effort like far more than just halfway improved. You've increased your likelihood to stay on through the day when you start the day in that theme. It's like band members getting together. Let's do a jam. Well, what key are we going to be in? You decide the key, and it kind of lessens the chance of steering off, everybody jamming, soloing in different, all these different directions. It's like, well, we kind of know what we're doing here. Make sense? So here we are. Let's go with this. I'm going to plug in, and I might deviate. But the fact that I even started the day plugging in also reminds me, oh, I'm going to go back to that because that felt kind of nice. An hour later, 5 hours later, well, let me do that again. You're forming a healthy habit is what I'm saying. So consciousness is going to be reflected, and so is unconsciousness. How do I know if I was unconscious at any part today? Hate, conflict, frustration, expectations. That's it. Reactions, anger. I must have gotten unplugged somewhere, because if I didn't, I would still be feeling the bliss of God. And I have to say, from a personal experience, I plug in, I feel alive, and it's still just being plugged in has its moments of challenge. Because it's like, honestly, I start the day, I plug in, I find myself walking around singing to myself and, just kind of being so alive. But there's moments where it's like, wow, this is kind of weird. You stand, you're doing sun salutations or whatever, and you realize somebody calls and they're not in that high mood you're in. And it makes you go, wait, yeah, I know, it's a really challenging day. Like are you going to meet them at where they're at in terms of you're going to drop a notch or two on your happiness level? It can be challenging to plug in and be blissed out all the time. How can you be so happy? You're going to get that. So it also has challenges, but don't forget, those voices of doubt are still doubts within you and I being mirrored in others. So we have to resolve those. You better answer the question. Why are you always so happy? Instead of going, God, they're so rude to be challenging my being happy today. Stop and answer the question. Why am I so happy? And then go, that's been answered before. Christ in me, Christ in Jesus has answered this question because I'm plugged in. You know, John the Baptist's apostles, you know, they were all kind of, you know, moping, and John's going to die, and then John's killed, and they're kind of moping. And they go, you know, Jesus, how come your apostles are all happy? You know, you're supposed to kind of be solemn when you're into mysticism. Jesus is saying, no, they're happy because they can tell something good's happening. And that's how I feel about my life, my ministry, my work, this place that we gather, online people, their comments and so forth. Once in a while, you're going to get some Nimrod, you know, posting something. Oh, you guys talk about Christ and I don't believe in God. And, you know, you're going to get that. So they should go to atheistrule.com and watch something else. But here, you're going to feel kind of good, and you're going to feel me feeling good, and you're going to feel the group feeling good. And there's going to be somebody that goes, I hate that. Those people are always happy. Oh, we're sorry. Really? Yeah, we promise we'll never smile again, just for you. That's like choosing demonic possession. Somebody's bummer, somebody's darkness, and you're going to choose that? No, not today. And so Jesus told those apostles of John the Baptist, no, it's right that they celebrate. And he also told them, and there will come a day, and I'm broadening to a few topics that he shared with them, there will come a day where they will mourn too, when I'm going to be gone. But I still don't want them to continue mourning. Mourn because you miss having me, apostles, he's saying, but then celebrate when you start feeling my presence in you, as you, not looking at me, but start to feel what I've been teaching you. And it starts to catch on. Somebody doing their Buddhist meditation, or they do the yoga, and one day they go, wait a minute, something just happened. I felt that I moved from doing yoga to experiencing it. From doing meditation, oh my God, it kicked in. Something happened. And as soon as you start thinking about how to replicate it, you're going to be off again, which is fine. Forgive yourself. But you're going to try. Oh, I saw purple light. Wait, more purple. You know, you're going to try to get purple again. And then you're going to get, oh, I didn't get it. And then you go to some teacher. Why did I see purple? And now I can't see purple anymore. And they're going to say, forgive yourself for having a condition of seeing purple. Forgive yourself. Let it go. See, forgiveness brings us back again. Go easy. But it's shifting into being. So enough meditation, it should kick in. But I'm saying that instead of doing enough meditation till one day it kicks in, and your swami, your yogi, they're going to stand and go, beloved, you know, I see that it happened, didn't it? It did. Oh my God, all of a sudden I was like, the yoga was just channeling through me. I saw, you know, and you look wonderful. Yes, oh my God, I got it. And they'll say, you know, and it's been 35 years, of course, you've been at this school, but I'm glad you got it. But a good teacher should have told you and should be telling you, start off getting it, and you won't have to wait 35 years. Start off not, you know, insisting to not do yoga, and just look for how to find it experienced in you. Is that making sense? Just like, and here's how. If you think about it, you're already not experiencing it. Here's the trick. Okay? In one word, imagination. Imagine that you're shifting from doing a posture, asana, you know, posture. Imagine that you're like blissed out and you're dancing the asana. Imagine that you're in meditation, but you're not like, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this. Imagine that all of a sudden, wow, what if all of a sudden, and I'm doing it right now as I'm talking, what if, and I just start becoming the light. That's what I'm doing that in my mind right now, even as I'm talking. And I just start seeing and imagining these frequencies, these waves, reaching out and reverberating back and connecting us all, even the folks online, because I said so. In your imagination, you determine the goal. So I'm seeing that people watching can go, whoa, what was that? It's when you shift from the doing to the, there it is, the ease. It's an ease. And it's the same craniosacral. Someone's trying to, you know, maneuver and manipulate the cranium and the skeletal skull bones, and to where all of a sudden they just drop and something shifts. I describe it when I'm teaching cranial type work. I say you're holding this koi fish, let's say, and you're going to put it in a pond. You get it near the water, it starts getting excited. Same as us. When we can sense healing, connection's going to come. There starts to get this, yes, come on. And careful, because that'll be too much doing. But you get the fish, drop it slowly into the water. That's the Holy Spirit helping us with the process. And the fish wants to go, but you're still holding it. And there's a moment, though, where all of a sudden it's tensed, and then all of a sudden, that first moment it enters, it's entering something new. So it's like, whoa, here it is. But then in a moment later, look what it does. And that's the same. Doing yoga to doing meditation to doing painting, anything we do, it shifts. And when you shifted it, oh my God, what was that? Own it. Don't just go, oh, that was kind of odd. No. Stop and breathe it in more. Wow. I just became conscious for a moment. I saw it. And I'm going to do that more. Careful doing, or I'm going to accept it. God never, ever willed that its children go away in consciousness or anything else. So we're coming back into this understanding that not doing, but this, thank God, this has never changed. I've always been in that pond, in that Zen-like flow, but I forgot. I dreamt that I was a fish taken out of the water and started struggling for breath. And there's two things that'll happen for an animal taken out of its environment, brought into a scary one. It'll become aggressive and flip around it, or it just starts to acquiesce and give up, right? Those are called aggressive people and passive aggressive people. Those are called angry people and depressed people. Those are called Republicans and Democrats. Yeah, it's true. Neither is right. Because it's still an animal that's struggling. It's still someone that's afraid. Someone that feels like it was taken out of a safe environment. So it's not okay. Go ahead and hate one of them, the Republican, the Democrat, or whomever, male, female. Go ahead and hate them. For what gain will you get from that? All you need to do is go, the reason they're flapping around, the reason they're laying, is because they've lost hope. One's fighting to get the hope and one's giving up. I find that both sad. Don't you? But what we do in our heads is, no, but the depressed are quieter. They're easier to forgive. Aggressive people, they're annoying. They're mean. They're both in pain. That's all they are. I'm not justifying their behaviors, either side. All I'm saying is, I know the roots of it. They're in pain. Someone went unconscious and dreamt that they're alone, and they get aggressive or they get hyper-passive. So think about this. When this happens, conscious or unconscious, both of them create, because when you drop that, there's that snowballing down into the material world. Your root chakra symbolizes your material, physical life, financial, health, all the physical stuff. The lower three chakras represent your body, emotions, and your thinking, the mind, the lower mind. So that's the unhealthy, that's the trinity, the human trinity. Divine trinity, heart that chooses, human trinity. So in my consciousness, if I drop down into this universe unconsciously, any moment of any day, there's going to be a result. It's going to roll and manifest into my thinking, my emotions, and my physical reality. And people that are unaware, people that are unawake, people that are shallow will look to the material world to think that that's their life. Deeper thinkers, you can have a person on the physical level going, I just evaluate this to tell me whether I'm happy or not. Go a little deeper to the emotional chakra, you have psychotherapists, psychics, helping you look more at the emotional self that's affecting your reality. Then you have positive thinkers. You know, the people that practice your manifestation techniques. I forget, what's the name of the one a lot of people are into?
Law of attraction.
Law of attraction. That's the thinker. Okay? That's the thinker that I'm going to use in my mind. That's higher. At least they're believing in something like a power of thought. that affects the emotions, which affects the physical reality down to the next chakras. But there's another chakra higher. Imagination. Like Einstein said, imagination is your highest human faculty, not the thinker. The imagination. Because it's closer to the ability to say, you show me, God. The lower mind is, I got it. I'll take care of it. It cuts off. The heart says, I don't know. I mean, even the arms demonstrate that. See, I don't know. Show me. So the heart is where we can still say, you show me, God, and it channels through all the way to the physical level. But if I have unconscious, what's going to happen is my heart goes dark. My thinking starts to become hyperactive. To fix things, I got to think myself through. When I'm not used to using my thinking power, which is still cut off from God power, it can be, unless you surrender it. The thinking power you'll think is going to get you through, but some of us go, I try, but my thinking, I don't have that ingenuity, that cleverness to get me through life. Okay? So that's the person who doesn't use their mind and they use their emotions. Not high feelings, lower emotions. And they run on emotion overly so, and it wears them down, and they tend towards depression. There's, of course, people just live in the physical world thinking, my physical something is going to make my reality. If I work hard enough, I'll retire. Tell that to airline pilots years ago who had their benefits taken away, who had all their money actually deleted. Like, how do you do that? If we took money from these pilots all the time, year after year, and we set it aside for their retirement, how could it be gone? That's not possible. It is. If somebody makes up another ingenious way to steal. But that's the lower mind trying to do things of this world when it's not plugged into God. So that's when we say, okay, I can tell I'm unconscious again because my money was taken, because I took someone's money. Either way, I'm unplugged. See? I'm unconscious. I'm watching a riot, or people fighting about that money being taken. It's still, I'm unconscious because I'm seeing something, experiencing something, hearing something, feeling something that isn't the presence of God. What do I really want to do in this life? I want to be the presence of God on earth. That's your ultimate goal. You may not know it. You may not think it or choose it for now. But everybody will come back to that point at some time in their life where I'm here just to be of help. I'm here to reflect the love of God on earth. So you can see when you're unplugged, unconscious, it's going to roll downhill and manifest as unhealthy stuff. Stay plugged in and it's a different world you start to see. Now, don't take what I'm saying and take it so literally that you judge it only from the physical level. Then you'll say, so you're saying that somebody that wins the lottery stayed plugged in. Now you're using your senses, your eyes to see something external to make an internal reality. I didn't say that. Although that can be true, that's not necessarily true at all. It's the consciousness. Did consciousness come down with me so that I'm in my heart feeling the presence of God, in my mind feeling the presence of God, in my emotions feeling the presence of God, and in my physical reality experiencing the presence of God? You mean where nothing goes wrong? I didn't say that. You're using your eyes again, based on what you think you see is going wrong and not going wrong. Instead, it's more like something goes wrong, I become angry and blame somebody. That's being unconscious. Something goes wrong, I surrender it to God and do my best to find peace. That's staying plugged in. Stuff might still happen. You're in a world where stuff happens. It's created for stuff to happen. This world as we know it was basically hijacked by the ego and turned into a place of death and limitation. Even when mankind first arrived, they could live thousands of years. The more they divided and subdivided, found nations to fight nations and hatreds, they started just going from thousands to 1,000 to 800 to 500 to 300 to 70 or whatever it is. That's not a great sign. We've lost sight of how to stay plugged in. Think about this. What is the presence of God in us? It's the I am presence. The I am. I, A, and M. I am. The I is still remembered. Not only is there 3 letters, I, A, M, 3 upper chakras. The presence of God is remembered as I, A, and M in my being. The I am presence is in me as 3 letters up here. So when Moses goes wandering from the root chakra up the mountain and meets God and he says, hey, who are you? God speaks down and says, I am. Can you give me a little more on that? And and God's like, oh, wow. I am. Still not getting it. I am all that is. Nope. Try again. And then God just says, bloody hell, here's 10 commandments. Go behave. Be nice, whatever. Figure it out. And then, years later, Jesus shows up. Okay, the commandments I can tell were a bit much for y'all. So I'm just going to narrow it down. Love one another as I love. And then we're like, by love, what do you mean? You don't mean love people. And then you label it a color, a gender, a race, a nation, a continent. You don't mean those kinds of people. Love one another as I have loved you. Well, okay, how did you love it? Well, let's see. Some of you spit on me, stabbed me, jabbed me, hit me, crucified me, denied me, betrayed me. Pretty much covers the gamut. And there's not one that I chose not to love. That's what I mean by love one another as I have loved you. And humans, they just, I need some wiggle room, man. I'm feeling kind of claustrophobic, And it manifests today as having to wear masks. It's a symbol of, oh man, I can't breathe. And all it is love. Love's getting close. And so we're blocking it out. We're afraid of it and so on. It's all external stuff as a metaphor of something happening inside. I am. The I am is right here. Great. Let's assume that made sense and everybody agrees. Then I am went on a journey. Did we separate from God? In a way, yes. But in a way, no. How do I know that? Because I remained in God, that I am. The A dropped down to my heart chakra. The M takes the lower 3 chakras. So the I, which has a crosspiece like so, if you do a capital I, the I represents still, even though the A and M left and went into the universe in the earth plane, the I remains and still has 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. But it's really one connection. So I stayed up here with 1 point at the bottom, 1 point, I, point, 1 point. And it connects with the top of an A, which is in my heart. The 1 point connects with the top of an A, the tip of the A. 1 point. But then the A splits into 2. Why? Because look carefully. I left God that I am, the one God, and I went into a world of duality. So an A splits into 2 parts. And it connects to the top points of an M, which are down here with 3 points at the bottom now, which are representing my lower 3 chakras. So God that I am loves me so much that the mother aspect of God, which we call the Holy Spirit, she descended and became the mother. The M, the mother, matter. She descended and says, I am as the Father is. But I'm going to go with you. You're thinking you're going to descend somewhere. I'm going to become not just one with God here. I'm going to open myself up and become a womb called the universe. And I'm going to hold you wherever you go. And I'm always going to just patiently mirror to you what your thoughts are. If your thoughts are not, I'm plugged in, I'm conscious, and I'm unconscious, I'm afraid, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm victim, or whatever. Honey, I love you. I'm just going to help you manifest that so you can see yourself. So I'm just angry, I'm a victim. Oh, honey, and so it is. I know just the person to bring into your life today. Here, little unfaithful one, come over here and, let me partner you up with them. How's that? Oh, I just hate this. I would too if I were you. But why don't you think that through? She's so perfect in her love that, we're the face that only a mother could love. We're the beings that only a mother could be this unconditional and say, honey, I don't like to see you in pain, but I would like to help you in any way I can. And the best way I can help you is simply to show you your inner when you're off, and you're inner when you're on. When you're on, I'm so excited for you because I'm going to show you the love that you are. When you're off, I'm so excited for you because eventually you're not going to like seeing this anymore and you're going to say enough is enough. She stays very faithful and excited, holding a vision that we're going to get there. And only a true divine mother could have such faith in her holy child. Is that all making sense? Good. So looking at life and realizing it comes down to this, and I'm going to start wrapping up in a moment. It comes down to this. The way water on a mountain comes down the mountain, it's going to follow what? The path of least resistance. We all know that. So here comes the water down the mountain towards the valley, following the path of least resistance. So creation takes place, and I have to loosely use that word creation because what you do with God when you're conscious is called creating. What you do when you're in your ego, unconscious, is called make-believing. If you're unconscious, you can't actually create. You can only make believe. Nevertheless, I'll use generically the word creating. So I'm conscious or unconscious, I'm going to create. So here comes my creation. It's going to flow down the mountain to the path of least resistance. What that means in part is that once I start in the consciousness, I'm in the consciousness of God still. I'm up here in consciousness. There's not really thinking. But thinking we think to be when you activate your will. When consciousness activates itself, it's called thinking. But that doesn't mean lower calculating thinking. It just means there's a thought going in. But really, in consciousness, that doesn't really split off from the consciousness. It's not like consciousness thinks over there. It just is, if you really get down to it. Consciousness never thinks. It just is, and in isness, there's perfect creation. That's when you're plugged in again and you don't have to think the asanas. They're happening through you. The meditation, it's happening through you. The techniques are fine. But if you only keep doing the techniques, you're actually still doing. You're doing nicer things than when you weren't doing nice techniques, but it's still doing. Every healer goes past here's my technique. Every counselor, here's my technique. It's got to stay within the board, got to stay within licensing, got to stay with, and you become a healer. I've said this for many years. It's a prediction, one prediction I've made for the new, millennium, for the new century, the new everything, And that is, it's not long from now that people will no longer be doctors, surgeon, chiropractors, this and that's, and nurses, and they're going to be, you're a healer or you're not a healer. It's just going to be, you're a healer. That's it. I'm a healer, and here's some herbs. Here, I'm a healer, and it doesn't matter what form it takes. I'm plugged into knowing I'm just here to be helpful, and I'm going to use the tools on my tool belt. And it's a healer. And that will take any practitioner that had licensing and techniques and doing, it's going to take them 100 times further in their effectiveness because their consciousness shifted closer to the inner healer. Okay? And then one day, healer disappears into the God that we are. Right? There wouldn't even be a thing to do as a healer or not a healer. They'll all respect each other, though. Halfway home, they're going to come to respect each other more. The doctor, would have no problem saying, oh, I know a great midwife. The surgeon, let's smudge the room. There's no problem with those things because they're not seen as, this is real and that's not real. It's healing. And one way to know if you're a healer is if you ask your client, what are you about? Instead of, oh, no, I'll tell you. It looks to me like you're a certain stage of bipolar disorder with a little smidgen of depression. So, I see some narcissism too. So we're going to medicate you. The calculating mind labeling everything. And I know labels are helpful for separated minds. Labels are helpful for people that are unconscious. Because if they don't have labels, they would realize they're unconscious. They have to make themselves think they're actually doing something. Whew. Yeah, I thought I was starting to panic for a moment, but here's my textbook again, and you're that. As long as I can tell you about your problems, I'm thinking I'm conscious, and you're the one unconscious. And all we did is descend into hell together. So the client needs to someday, or the doctors, and various forms of doctors one day need to say, I want to be conscious today. I think I'm ready to create a conscious healer to work with me. Bless you. Conscious healer. and then you're all of a sudden, you go into, who knows, it could be like, I'm going to get a chiropractor, but I want a healer chiropractor. Not a chiropractor, but a healer chiropractor. So you go in there, or it could be a doctor who can I get a checkup or whatever. And you get one that's like, well, okay, welcome, nice to see you here. I like to start my visits with a moment of silence. Oh, this is cool. This is going well. They center first, Next thing you know, they're like, well, they get some chicken bones and they put it out on the table. Okay, I'm seeing that you've been going through the dark night of the soul. And they start doing ceremony and chant and, smudging. And I just think that's amazing. I've met a few people that live like that are healers, and they just kind of go any direction. One guy I went and saw here in Sedona, it was a trip because I'm laying on the table. He's done some work on me, whatever, and I it's like, okay, I'm laying there. All of a sudden, I kind of felt a little pressure here, and I thought, what's he doing? Is he hands on? Okay, cool, I'm open. And then a moment later, I just kind of looked up, and there's this big African turtle. And it's kind of going. And I'm thinking, do not put your tongue out. So this thing, and the guy goes, that's amazing. I go, yeah, it is. He goes, no, it never comes out of the shell when it's in the presence of other people. It's like, can't go anywhere because its body's sitting on my chest, but it's just, and I'm just like, whatever. Yeah, but, like, that's healer. It's whatever. A client of mine, like 30 years ago, said, Michael, whatever it takes. And I thought, that is the ultimate client. Here I am. And the doctor, God, whatever it takes. What would you have me do today? That's healer, but that's pushing it for some, so I understand that. So as I said, going towards wrapping this up, we're going to go in that direction where consciousness gets to remain a bit more. But the water flows from the mountain, the path of least resistance. So remember this. The same is true for you. Listen. If you're used to being unconscious, the water will flow unconsciously into an unconscious life of yours. It'll hit the neurons and the synapse that are used to being fired, right? It will wire where it's been fired. The path of least, it's going to flow that natural direction. You have to do the work to say, wait a minute, I'm unplugging that little ravine and I'm putting in something else over here. I want my conscious self to start receiving the flow all the way from head to toe. Instead of, well, it's so easy. I always start off with a little meditation in the morning, and then before I know it, bam, it's all flowing in the lowest parts of my life, and it's running right back over the same old ravines, the lower parts of my being. Instead, no. It is possible to rewire things. And that's why prayer that you are humble and you surrender instead of, I'm going to fix this. There's another technique and another technique. Do the techniques, but do them with God. Don't do techniques without God, because that's the ego's way of saying, I told you we could do things without needing God, which doesn't make sense, yet it does from an egotistic standpoint. That's how everything started. Like the Adam and Eve story. The self-inflated ego saying, God doesn't want your eyes to open, because then you might become like God. God wants you to stay like an ignorant servant. That's how we read it, and that's kind of what happened in the beginning. And that's not the reality. The reality is, if you listen to the wording, God does not want your eyes to open. Did you hear that that's plural? God did not want you to formulate bodies and think that you're a dense being that can die and be limited and look through two eyes. You have one eye when you're a soul being and you can know anything. And the ego was telling you, no, there's some knowledge that you're missing out on, that you'll only know if you open these eyes. And as soon as we did, we saw a world of duality. And nothing was ever the same. The good news is that all happened when Adam went to sleep, and the Bible, never says that he woke up. So what that means is, although it seems to happen that we opened these eyes and started learning to judge and so on, it's still part of the dream. All we have to do, metaphorically speaking, is close these eyes and try to listen from another place. God, what I'm seeing in my reality doesn't feel good, and it must mean that I've been unconscious. Okay, close eyes. Show me how you would have me see the world, how you'd have me see life. And if you listen carefully, God would say, only through the eyes of love. If you respond to that by saying, well, and I would see through the eyes of love if only there were different people that I could choose from. Uh-oh, I just went unconscious again. Whoever's in front of you is your homework for today. And some of them are, oh, thank God you showed up today, because, oh my God, whew, the last 9 people, wow. They were like major final exams. And then one shows up that's nice, that's cool. Now, what humans will do is, you know what, that's nice that you're there, but you're probably just a passing thing anyway. Spiritual teachers, people you've met that you connect with really in a good, truthfully loving place. What we do is we won't even accept them as being that good because the last 9 were bad and we thought they're just going to be part of that. The ravine right there again, here it comes. The waters are flowing right back to where they usually flow. And you have to say, no. I'm not saying to be naive, but to say, I'm choosing to see qualities in people that are good and appreciate them. It doesn't mean they're perfect on this planet, but I appreciate they're doing work to be better people. I see that a client of mine was afflicted with certain something and they're 50% better. Right on. Congratulations. You're in half the pain. That's fantastic. Anything you can find that seems of a positive nature, give thanks so that more can be added. The ego's going to say, hey, listen, a speck of good now and again, all that's going to do is break your heart when you get all excited about it because it's going to go to hell too. Don't hear that. I'm going to do this differently. I want these waters to flow in a different place, a place they're not used to flowing. Trust. Woo, that's a new one. Gratitude. There's another new one. Please take a few centering breaths. Just set aside all the stuff of the day. Just center. Just choose with a couple of breaths. I can already just find a quiet place inside. Body, muscles, everything. Be still and know the I am presence of God. The mind thinking about things. Hey, you just tell it, hey, that's enough. Quiet. God. We're in holy presence. I am is no longer just in the heavens. I am is wherever I go. The I am, the I, the A, and the M have manifested in and through me. That's a mystery secret. That's a mystery teaching, and I now understand it. I am as God created me, and I will to be the Christ on earth. Quieting the mind, quieting all the stuff of the world. And then imagine for a moment the perfect, pure presence of the I, the divine I that I am. The I is up in my upper centers. And in a sense, that I, that is God, is saying, I have lots of gifts that I want to bring to you. Just imagine standard human gifts that people ask for. Name 3 for yourself. A healing, greater abundance, better friendship, partner, etc. Think of the kinds of things people ask for while on earth. And then picture this. Each of them seems like something we want. How do I get the I that's in the heavens to come down to earth and bring me those things that I want on earth? There's a letter in the middle, the A, that connects. What is the A telling me I need to do to bring not my human needs into manifestation, God's will in the heavens down to my human needs to make them full and real? Something in the A, the heart center, forgiveness. Father, Mother, God, what would you have me forgive so that I don't make things happen with that M, make things happen in my material M world, How do I bring I down to the material world, to where the material world will bow and say, what can we help you with today? Where can it become a divine manifestation? And it's not by my doing, it's by my accepting. What is it I need to forgive? Show me. Who? What? A pattern, a belief system, a person, whatever comes to mind, be very happy that it's there. Even if it's something you'd rather not have thought about, be very happy that it's there. Because it is in your heart and soul. It's showing up because it's something recorded in your Akashic records found in your heart. And it's saying, I'm in the way of you receiving the things you're asking for down below. So look at those things and just hear the words. God is the love with which I forgive you. It's not of myself. I'm not analyzing anything. I'm not justifying anything. I'm simply affirming. God, the I, is the love with which in my heart I forgive you. And it releases the tensions off of these things that I otherwise would have already had. I welcome in all the gifts of God. Give that another half minute. And I give thanks now, Divine Mother, because only you can properly and fully and completely access these records to show me what I needed to forgive. And only you can most thoroughly, effectively, and efficiently bring then the gifts that come from my practice of forgiveness into my life. Thank you for your infinite patience, beloved Mother. Thank you for your infinite power in knowing who I am, beloved Father, aspect of God. I am as God created me, and I will to be the Christ on earth. God is, I am, we are. And so it is. Just slowly stretch out, please. All right, guys. God bless you all. Okay, God is, I am, we are. Remember that? The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. We'll see you all soon.